Yeah, I can get in full brain mode where I'm talking from my brain instead of the space in between where I have to translate or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an autistic feature.
No, I'm fine with that.
In the way we think, that's why we tend to info dump and stuff, because conversations are very hard to just come into, and you're thinking, you get up to someone and you're like, what? Trying to focus on what they say when your head's going 1,000,000 miles an hour. Yeah.
That sounds fine to me.
Okay. Do we start?
Sure.
Okay.
I already did start.
Oh, he did. Good deal.
You've already been doing it.
Okay, so now I remember when I used to go to church, and I'm autistic. It's hard for me to people, and it was really hard back then. And I make pottery, right? And a lot of Sundays, every Sunday I would come in there and I'd bring 4 or 5 tea bowls that I'd give away. And I could always tell, like, what tea bowl fit with what person, I don't know, just something about their style.
What are you saying, tea bowl?
Tea bowl, like little cup.
Okay.
It's the Japanese idea, I guess, it's a special, one-of-a-kind cup. And I could just tell what people would like. And so many days I barely said anything, but when I gave them the tea bowl, I had things to say and I could connect with them, as just part of myself to give, and I could come alive. And I was just so proud that I could make people feel welcome,
That's great.
because I didn't feel welcome myself. And it's so important for me for people to not feel like I do. Yeah, but I also remember, the times, probably at least half a dozen times, I'd be like, oh, I can invite them over to my house and we can make pottery and I can make them dinner, and it's my place of confidence. It's that place where I could really talk and I'd have things to talk about because I could tell them about making pottery, And the time would come and just no one would show up. And I'd just bawl and, and they didn't even say I'm sorry or even notice that they didn't show up. They just wouldn't show up. And that was really hard, We have all these traumatic experiences, And, if you were to listen to pretty extreme form of punishment or torture, it might sound like screaming. Or you see what happens. They'd have bashes on their head and stuff. Well, what did they do to them? Well, they didn't do anything, right? They put them in a room and locked the door. Solitary confinement. We talk about troubles and traumas and all this stuff, but we don't talk about the trauma of absence, right? And people who don't get love or they don't fit in, people who are chronically lonely, they'll die about 10 years sooner than regular people, right? Loneliness and ostracization, it'll kill you just as much as smoking or obesity, right? And that's 10 years for most people. For autistic people, our lifespan is 54. We have 9% marriage rate, 9 times the suicide rate, 75% unemployment. For college-educated autistics like me, it's 85% unemployment, right? They did the telephone game, the cat jumped out of the hat, and you say that to that person and so on, right? With normal people and autistic people, and the results were about the same, right? But you mix those groups with normal people and autistic people, and the telephone game don't even work. That's how profound our problems are with communicating, with normal people, It's just weird because our brains do not function the same way. If you scan my brain, it wouldn't look like a normal person's brain, We're just different, and here's some quick ways to understand and explain this. Okay, there's the idea of theory of mind, right? That we don't know what we look like to people, right? And if you don't know what you look like to people, then, it's like leprosy, right? You can't feel when you twist people too hard and it turns them off, right? Or we can be inappropriate or very rude or hurtful unintentionally because, normal people, they have padding on their words and we don't. And we can, hit people's insecurities in a bad way, or seem just too familiar with people, and they're like, whoa, or you jump on them, and you're too nice because you don't have that feeling blocking you from doing that, right? An autistic person might see kids in the park, and they go, oh, I want to play with them. Now, stranger danger, right? They might not realize that, these people are worried about their kids, and they'd be like, hey, what are you doing? They'd react, and an autistic person might be just like, why are you treating me like this? You're treating me like a threat. I don't understand why you're scared of me. And we're so intense, right? You got like a Harley, right? They don't rev motorcycles. They're two-cylinder and they rev slowly, and have a flat spread of power, right? That's a normal person. An autistic person is like a race bike, right? Harley might rev to 8,000. Race bikes, they rev to 16,000 RPM, right? Fast. And not only rev high, but quickly, Harley's sport bike, So it's 0 to supernova in 2 seconds, right? 0 to tears of joy in 2 seconds. You can't fall in love in 2 seconds. That's more like 10 minutes. But you just feel things so strongly, right? And again, you can over-convey stuff, and people are like, oh, they're obsessed with me. And it's just like, well, no, we just don't have that filter, and when you feel things. So you got that. You have the, what I call the golden rule problem. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. Well, the things that I would have done unto me are a little different than maybe what normal people like, because, we just think different, and you assume that people want the same things, right? So, what's attractive to me? Just quirks, people sitting alone, scars. I think scars are beautiful. You ever see the women or people with their legs, amputated, and they got the blades, and it's, oh, that's so attractive. And Ali Sheedy in the Breakfast Club, man, she's perfectly beautiful woman, right? So, and the things that, so you just do things like, if I'm walking around and just looking at stuff, I'm in art class or something, and they got the skeleton to draw from, and I just remember going over there and looking at all this instead because it's easier than talking, and how it moves and all that stuff. And I just love that. And to me, things like that, right? Things like that reads as attractive, right? And women are attracted to mostly, what other women are attracted to, right? And people in general, and me, it's like, oh, I want to find someone that no one sees, I want this gem that people miss. I think that's attractive, right? So, just the way you present, you present things that people think are unattractive, and, that's the positive aspect. And the negative, I guess, you don't you think, oh, I wouldn't get offended by this. This wouldn't bother me. So you do that to other people, and they're like, whoa, And, yeah, you can really fuck things up. I ruined a friendship that way, And I just think about it every day. It's one of the biggest regrets of my life, And now I get why that bothered her so much, but I wouldn't have thought anything of it. That's why, to me, that was just people, being weird or whatever. And, even now I'm good at peopling, but I still, just drive people away or do something that will really bother them. And I'm trying my best, but can be pretty good at peopling now. So, and after a while, I just become so full of hate. Just this furious rage, if you can't join them, beat them, and I didn't know what was wrong with me because I didn't know I was autistic and why people react this way, and that there's just something horribly wrong with me. Something so just unlovable. And, why are people scared of you? Why, is it so easy and you just watch people, right? And it's like you're in this fucking wheelchair and everything is so easy for them. Why do they just know what to do? And it's painful and it's confusing, and you watch movies trying to figure out how do people, right? And it's, it's like you're blindfolded and you're going through a room full of bear traps, and you don't know what's going to hit you next. You don't know someone's going to get offended or bothered, or what, did I say too much? Did I share too much? What did I do, And the more freaked out about it, the more it perpetuates itself, I guess, It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And, another thing about autistic people is we're just so intense. That's just kind of weird to normal people. They're like, whoa, he must, be going crazy. Well, I'm running at 10,000 RPM. That would blow up a normal person. That's just halfway for me. I get excited about things sometime and people think that I'm angry. No, that's just feel things so intense. And, so, I was there from the second I'd wake up till the second I fell asleep, just thinking these furious, rageful thoughts, want to punish bad people. And with autism, it's like your whole experience, a normal person is a flashlight, well, ours is a laser beam, right? We have a very hard time just not thinking about stuff. All the fathers of science and the greatest geniuses who ever lived, as far as I could tell, were autistic, and that's that intensity, right? Einstein could think about the same thing for years, decades, right? So, I can think about only one thing. I could just hate all day, Incredible intensity, and that's the only thing in my world, nothing to dissipate that. And that's why we kill ourselves so much, because we experience things very strongly. And, I never thought that I would get out of that. I thought that I would just be so full of hate and rage my whole life. And that it would just never stop, and I would never be loved. Because that's, really what that was all about. Just wanting love. And I think that autistic people need love as much as other people, but just kind of push people away because it's hard letting people get close to us, and we think in full brain and half brain. Well, full brain is very honest, right? If I'm talking to you from my full brain, I overshare and I say too much, but it's brutally honest. I don't know if most people understand how honest autistic people really are. And that doesn't help you socialize. It doesn't help you people to be too honest. But I guess, kind of where I found my way out was, I live well in proximity, I guess, to what I would call a world-class strip club. Now, it's a small town, 25,000 people. And it's in the rundown part of town, from an old roller skating rink is where that's located, right? And some of the girls are pretty, and some of them aren't. I think a lot of them couldn't dance in Lincoln or Omaha because of the competition. And it's inexpensive, which is good for me because, how can you go to a place all the time if you can't afford it? But I guess what makes it world-class, well, it's kind of the format. It's a small town. Girls, they're a lot less cynical and just jaded and, a lot more friendly. And, I like small town people. But I guess kind of the thing is, they just spend so much time together, right? And, it's a tribe is what it is, right? I think about the way we evolved, groups of 30 to 40 people spending all their time together, right? And it's kind of that same way at my place. And, I think I saw a thing about Army vets and why they're so hurt so much. And the guy's whole idea, he's like, they experience all this trauma when they're in the field, but why aren't they traumatized in? Why when they get back? And his idea was, well, because they were part of a tribe, and when you lose your tribe, you're fucking lost, right? And nothing compares to that. And my little club's a tribe, right? And it can be really slow, so the girls just spend so much time together talking, And, they never pressure or manipulate me, they don't. And they're honest, their girls aren't scared of, oh, well, don't say anything about me to the other girls, because, no, they're just friends, and the girls come in on their nights off, right? You go back to your job on your night off just because you want to be with your people. And it's can be full of people, and there's like not one goddamn cell phone. And you can come in there and they'll just talk to you, And when I started coming, I didn't really know how to people, but I mean, for someone like me, that's the most amazing thing in the whole world, right? You just put a couple bucks down and, they'll hold you to their chest and say, thank you, sweetheart. I'd get so excited, get so wound up to be touched, and look them in the eye, and I'd just be laughing so hard, and they just love that. And I've made pottery 2 periods in my life, but I'd bring them in pots. And they just liked that so much. They were so kind to me. And that was in the summer of 2021. And that was great, but I was still having a hard time connecting and stuff because, oh, what do you do? How do you do this? Oh, you can't share too much, so I don't want to go too deep, and trying to figure out how to people, It's like, okay, well, you stand in a circle and someone's like, well, he said this, blah, blah, blah. She said, blah, blah, blah. Just recount facts of what people do and say, and here I am going full brain trying to jump in, with my train of thought. I'm like, well, and it's awkward. And I finally learned how to people. I got the F formula by Marnie Keynes, Marnie the Wing Girl, Wing Girl Method. .com. F formula is about flirting, right? And I think, Marissa actually wrote it, but I think it's like the E equals MC squared of peopling. But I just kind of read this, and it's a little hokey, and so I go there and try it out, right? And I remember I'm sitting in my chair, which is mine in my spot, and I hate it when people get in my spot. And Bambi's right here, and I just look at it, I'm like, I'm learning how to talk to people. And she's like, well, me too. And we're just talking and just having this amazing conversation, and I'm feeling so close to her, right? And I can talk about what I want, and she's responding so positively, And I was just amazed. Just amazed at the way she responded. If I could fly like Superman and throw mountains into the sea with my mind, it wouldn't have amazed me half as much as how good that felt. And how easy that was. And Rose is there, and we just had this great conversation, and Ivy's, like back there kind of circling around. She wanted me to talk to her, and I didn't realize that at the time. But I was just amazed. Right? It was the most, that conversation was where my whole life just took a different path. And, I remember that following morning, I'm just going to the gas station and just watching people and thinking, man, these people, they don't connect, they're so separate. And ladies pack and chew in the display stand. I'm like, boy, I bet that's a pain in the ass, and she's kind of grumpy, but I'm just having this conversation with this stranger, and flirting with her and just watching her just light up, and she was just fucking glowing. She was glowing. I made her glow. It can make people glow. And, just stupid little things like, going to checkout line in a grocery store, and this kid's telling me about his grandfather's jerky out of nowhere, and people just wanting to talk to me. And I remember hiking, a couple days later, and I'd been up there a couple weeks before that and watching the cars and just in a furious fucking, hating that people are, on my trails or in my spot, just hated people. And I remember sitting there in the parking lot watching this guy pack up, and I'm like, I want to talk to him. And as I was hiking, I just couldn't wait to come across people because I could see if I could make them glow. And it's the happiness on their face. And it's like I finally got it, and the hate just went away. I never thought that I would just stop hating people. I was so excited. That's what I always wanted. And it's a boxer. I think it was George Foreman. I think it was him, but one of those boxers. And he was talking about the best times in his life, and it wasn't, winning those championships for all the women, I suppose he could, and just all that fame and stuff. It was after that. And it was this period in his life where he was just talking to people, right? To having real conversations where you just really connect with someone and feel them, conversations like that. That's what Marnie can teach. How to connect to people and how to really feel them, and I see the need so much for that in this world. People are so fucking lonely, and they've been married for decades and they don't really talk about what's going on inside, and they're so alone. People are so alone. Or a comment I was reading, dude's bed like 100 women. He's like, I never felt connected to any of them. And that's what I learned, how to connect and talk to people like that. And I don't know if, Marnie really has any idea the amazing potential, right, that she has. She's one of the best at the world at, being a wing girl and helping people date, but I can only imagine how much better this world would be if everyone learned the skills that she can teach, right? And, it's all nonverbal, right? Like 90% of communication is nonverbal, right? And so really you just have to worry about the nonverbal part, and the verbal part will just happen, and you don't have to talk about meaningful things to have a meaningful conversation. And, the people who have made you feel loved, that wasn't from the words they said, it was from their body language. And, you have to talk to that. I mean, you understand people, and people are very simple when you really get them. There's the human animal that's kind of going underneath all of that, and then above that, there's our logic and what we think of stuff, right? And if you know how to work the human animal, right? I mean, I see stuff like someone talking politics on the internet. It's like, oh boy, I agree with most of the things you're saying and stuff, but I just hate you. Because here's your words, but, what's your human animal saying? It's just fucking growling and expressing hatred, and of course no one on the other side's going to listen to them because they hear loud and clear, what your animal is saying. Maybe not your logic, Yeah, so for years there, I'd only worn black, like all my clothes was black, and I wanted to get nice pants, got some suit pants, and I'm like, well, why don't I just wear a suit? So I'd wear suits on my Fridays to see the girls and dress up for them, kind of out of respect. And I was having so much fun, and the girls would wait for me to come in. And they'd just sit with me, and they were so happy just to spend time with me, and they'd get in trouble because, they got to go work, but they want to talk to me. And, and they treated me different than the other customer. They treated me special. I kind of tallied it up once and figured that I got 500 times per unit time or whatever, more hugs than the other customers got. And they'd just hug me, and I'd bring them my pots and bring pots in, every week to show up my new stuff. And I started making pottery again after this too. Yeah. And I started losing weight. And I lost about 80 pounds. I weigh 100 pounds less than I did in high school. And they would just give me their treasures. I guess kind of digging for gold. I mean, Alice, I love Alice. Alice is like the Disney princess of strippers. My favorite people. And, she was little and grew up in this little town, like 1,000 people or whatever. And, she'd always hang out with the other older kids, and her stepdad would beat her, and the other kids would pick on her, And she's tough, right? Like right now, she has worked like 3 jobs at a time supporting her mom, who has cancer, and she's a 3rd-generation stripper, too, and her little sister, parentification, right? And, she's just a force of nature, right? But I remember, okay, we have this one customer, and I call him Dr. Nefario because he looks like that, and he's pretty unpleasant, kind of racist, smells grabby, girls don't like him, And I remember watching Alice there just talking to him, and she's just so sweet to him, and I always figured that, she's like one of these perfect, happy people, just always like that, and cute. And one day she sat me down, and she's talking, and I used to hate people, and I was angry at people for, why is my life like this? Why does this, so cruel? And tattoo artists kind of took her under their wing, and she just decided that she was going to love people, right? And it's like, I don't think anyone could see my girls the way that I do without loving them. Or Kiwi, Kiwi I figured out I was autistic with because she's autistic too, and about half probably of strippers and sex workers are autistic. It just draws us like a magnet for some reason. Probably because the things that don't work out there make us uniquely suited to working in the strip club because, I'd love to be a stripper, at least like they are, but, if you can love someone in 10 minutes and have genuine affection for someone just like that, right? Or feel comfortable, and this opening up, just comes along with that, there's this openness. It's a shortcut to intimacy, the whole kind of sex things, and so you can just go in and tell someone your secrets right off the bat. And a lot of them are also, abused or whatever, which also lends a lot to just opening up really quick, and a lot of the girls I tell them that I used to hate people until I strip club, and they're like, yeah, me too. I was treated like shit in high school, but, I'm here, and, this is my place, or Kiwi. Yeah, she wanted to be a taxidermist, right? Not because she's morbid, but because she loves animals, right? And if she would do that, they would kind of live forever, I guess, So I go walking a lot, and I'd find dead raccoons or something on the road, and I'd take pictures and show her, and she liked that. I even found a rabbit's tail once, but no rabbit. Brought that one in. You know, and she's funny. Or there's Pixie. Pixie glows. She just glows. I remember the first time, I was there with Kiwi and Bella, and first time I met Pixie, and we're talking, and we're like, oh, we're just starstruck. She's so smart and just charismatic. And I just love the way watching her talk to people, the way that she makes people feel so welcome, And, she said once, a lot of girls, guys are too grabby or they try to finger them. And she's like, no one's ever done that with me. And I'm like, yeah, because the way that you connect and engage with them, they respect that, And, yeah, and, I didn't get a real kiss till I was 34. And I don't think, even people, they get experience when they're younger or whatever. Well, I haven't had this in a year or two. And I'm just like, boy, you don't have any idea. It's like, yeah, I get that you're lonely, but you're not fucking worthless. Right? Not being touched or loved, not being worthy of sex. You just feel so absolutely worthless, And just what that means, and to hold her. Touch her hair. Look at her eyes and how much that means to me, There's been 104 billion people who've ever lived, but how many people have ever really known Pixie? And what an amazing privilege that is to know her, to engage with someone in that way and in that respect, and that never would happen in the real world. And it's amazing because boundaries and context, right? I mean, as a stripper, you can love on people that you wouldn't date, or maybe you're not even attracted to, but there's something in their story that connects you to them. And yeah, I would love that, if someone's hard up or whatever, be like, no, I totally like to love on you and to treat you like you don't get treated. What a beautiful thing. I was listening to people and they're talking about Hooters, and they got these older guys, are 40 and 50, divorced or whatever, and they come in and I guess it's kind of like the strip club is for me, and they're like, well, this is great, but it's kind of sad, and maybe it's sad that they don't have anyone to talk to, but it's not sad that they come in and they have someone to connect with. No, that's beautiful. And I don't think people who aren't lonely really get how much that hurts. And I started wearing colors again and being colorful. And just happy. There's a Ryan Taraban, I watch his stuff, and his things are, it's kind of dark, but I think it's realistic, and that's why it's dark, but this idea of relationships being transactional, and really interesting stuff, but he had a video that says that love has nothing to do with relationships because it's not transactable, right? You can buy sex, companionship, you can buy children in a way, You can just buy all this stuff or get it, and you trade stuff, and love it's not like that. You can't make anyone love you. You can't make yourself love anyone. It doesn't have any cost, right? You don't need to be dating someone to love them. You don't even need to tell them that you love them or give them anything. You give them things for your own pleasure, right? It's at the pleasure of the giver, and you don't ask anything in return. All you really want is to be in your loved one's presence. That's all you want out of that, if that's the best thing for them. And if it's not, then you would even give them up, through that. And it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard, I guess. And he had another one that he was talking about how, if you're looking for love, that you find love in the expression of love, right? You can't feel what other people feel for you. You can't access that. And people want to be loved, but they might not necessarily want to love, but that's where you find love, is in loving people, And, you find love in the expression of that. And, I'm listening to this, and all I can think about is my girls. And just how much I love them, and how happy I am just to be in their presence, and to hear their treasures and their stories, to make them glow. And, I hear so many ugly things in the way that people talk about them, that they paint them like they're stupid, or I don't know. Just all sorts of ugly things that people talk. And then there's the piteous things, which are equally ugly. And, oh, well, that's someone's little girl. Well, maybe she isn't someone's little girl because her dad fucking bailed on her. But she's my girl. And I don't like people talking about people I love like that. You wouldn't want someone talking about your daughter or your wife, And I wish that people could see what I see in them. And just how beautiful and special they are, and that there shouldn't be shame in that. They should be proud of what they do. Alice, she's quitting stripping, gonna have a baby, and she's like, well, I don't, want to do something better, for my mom, because, I don't want to be just a stripper. And I'm just heartbroken thinking that that's just, that's important. And it's sad that people look at one of the, I guess for me, one of the most beautiful things ever, and think they have to be ashamed of that, or even lose their integrity doing that. You don't have to manipulate anyone to do that job. In fact, you do it best when you just talk and connect with people. But anyways, to Frankie, to Pixie, Kiwi and Alice, Ivy, Bambi, Nonsense, Leia, Cash, and, well, just all the other girls, you know. I love you. And, yeah, that's about all I got to say about that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Have you had relationships with women or?
Oh, I've had one girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was, actually I met her when I was younger. The stuff I was talking about just happened about 3 years ago, but yeah, I started dating her when I was 34, and we dated for a couple years.
Are relationships like that difficult for you?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, most people are like, well, how do you stand all the... I'm like, oh my God, I'd be so proud of her. You know, it doesn't bother me at all that they're stripping. I mean, I wouldn't want to be like in a open relationship or something like that, but, you know, it's a role. And, yeah, I just see it as so important, and I'm not a jealous, you know. It's not, I don't have human instincts quite necessarily, I guess. And I don't have the male instinct that men like to chase. And I'm like, I do? Yeah, I don't have to watch movies to figure out, you know, that. So I don't get especially jealous or possessive.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah, and it's been kind of fun because learning how to people. I work at craft fairs and I sell my pottery, and you know, I'll just go around, and I like to go around before every show and, oh, you make soap, you know, and just flirt with people. You know, that's great, and I think I'd be good at relationships. I'm trying to figure it out, you know, and getting this whole masculine energy out, and tried to be, you know, give that captain energy, and oh my God, it's terrifying. Because it's like I realize how easy it would be if I did it right, you know, to get with women or whatever, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I could hurt so many people or lead them on, you know, just the way they react to that. You know, I'm at a craft fair, you know, in a small town, in the gym, and I'm flirting really well and having fun, and man, there's like a dozen women from all over just staring at me, and I'm like, wow. And, you know, it's all about expressing intention, right? And kind of realizing a few women who I've been with, you know, 3 of them, they brought it up, you know, sex or whatever. They put that out there, and I'm not doing that. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, and I figured out that it's kind of like, you know, I grew up in a culture where, you know, sleeping with someone was so dirty, you know, and it, like manipulative and using them, you know, and that it's just using people, right? And that made it so hard for me to express intention, because I feel like I'm doing something wrong or preying on them, you know. You know, it's not so much being rejected. I just don't want to hurt anyone, so I'm really thinking about this, and I'm driving, you know, and it's like, okay, well, how am I going to hit on people, right? How do you flirt with them, and trying to spit out hit-on lines because it's so hard. And I figured out a really cool way to express intention is, you know, say you're, so I talk to the girls, and I'm like, okay, let's play the flirting game, right? So you say, You're at a craft fair, you're selling your soaps, you don't know me, you watch me walking around to people, and if I did this, how would you react, right? And the way I figured it out is, you're talking and a couple minutes in, it's like, oh, hands. And they're like, what? Oh, well, can I see your hands? And I'm like, okay, I see there's no ring on them. And they're like, well, yeah, is there anyone else? Oh, no. Oh, I like that. And so I'm asking if that'd work, and I ask them out, and they're like, yeah, I'd say yes to that. And I'm like, what, really? Really? I thought I'd be a creepy weirdo, for a stranger to ask you out, and it's like, wow. And I tried a couple times. One was the McDonald's girl before I drive home at night. I get a decaf or whatever and flirt with her a little bit, and she's like, oh no, I'm married, but there's other girls work here who are single. And I'm like, wow. Boy, that's better than saying yes. It's like, you like me enough that it's like, oh no, I'd recommend just someone I kind of banter with. Yeah, but it's just kind of weird. It's something I want to figure out how to do and overcome, But I don't know.
How old are you?
I am 46.
46.
Yeah.
You look great for 46.
I do. Yeah, I'm the youngest 46-year-old I know. Autistic people, we are adult-like children and childlike adults.
Do you live with your parents, or you live at home?
No, I got my own place.
You do?
And, yeah. Make jet parts, and got my pottery business on the side.
Oh, you have a job at...
Aerospace company.
Oh, good for you.
Do heat treat. Yeah, I've been there 25 years, which is pretty good for an autistic person.
And you were undiagnosed for a while, right?
No, I didn't figure it out till just a couple of years ago. Just with trouble I was having at work, and a really big misunderstanding, and yeah, because I don't look like what I think an autistic person would look like, right? I always thought that, it's this really boring person, and they talk about baseball and they have flat affect or something, and, or a dearth of emotions, and it's like, well, no, I have lots of emotions, too many of them, right? And I think that's why we, autistic people don't like eye contact or whatever, because because you just feel naked, right? And when you go full brain and you overshare, you're naked. So I think a lot of us just don't say anything because it's too much, or the ones who aren't too self-conscious say too much, and it drives people away, Yeah, they're just very naked, and that's kind of why it's hard, I guess, with people,
What advice would you give to someone who is dealing with autism?
Learn how to flirt. And first I'd be like, get the F formula, learn how to do that. I think that makes all the difference. And when I figured out that I was autistic, my whole life just, oh my God, this makes sense. Oh, that's not everyone. No wonder why this is so goddamn hard. I just thought everyone was like this, And that helps. Challenge yourself, don't, the one thing I'm glad about that I didn't figure it out was it's like, I never expected not to get a job or I don't think low expectations help you at all. Just work hard. I think that it can get better. You know, I think that when you really understand something, you can wield it. You know, and with learning how to people and flirt, you know, I just snap, you know, I just click, I figured it out. When I learned how to walk, I just sat around and I just got up and started walking. Yeah, I'm kind of like an electron, and, you know, it'll jump orbitals, and it doesn't exist in between here and there. I just leap ahead, you know, yeah, you know, I think it can get better, you know, and be proud of yourself.
That's great.
I mean, I'm proud to be autistic, you know, like I said earlier, as far as I can tell, like Einstein, Newton, Tesla, Marie Curie, Darwin. Can't tell me that dude that figured out the circumference of the Earth 2,000 years ago wasn't autistic, you know. And without that science, you know, that we were kind of fathers of, you know, that's just kind of our way of thinking.
I'm sure a lot of great, intelligent people were autistic.
Yeah.
We're on the spectrum.
Yeah, and it's just kind of the way our brain works, that we question things and see how things fit together, and when they don't fit together, you know, that's why we like language without padding on it, because it connects, you know, and very specific, because, you know, when things don't connect, it's like, well, that can't work, and we just see that, you know. And yeah, without the science, man, we'd like be living in the 1800s, you know, with, you know, all this stuff, and that's kind of our gift to the world. So no, be proud of that, you know. And just because people don't appreciate you doesn't mean that you're not worthy of that.
Absolutely.
You know, and people who, and, you know, don't give a fuck about what people who don't know think about you, you know. I think and don't take it personal. And, you know, and don't listen to non-autistic experts about us, which they've probably figured out. Like the doctor told Kiwi she didn't know how to love. Yes, we do. Kiwi loves everything. You know, sometimes we don't know what our emotions even are. You know, there's a big spectrum, but no, we love really hard, and that's kind of the problem sometimes. And we feel things really intensely. You know, and I guess find other autistic people. And autistic people, the right autistic people to get together, it's like thunder. The earth shakes, you know, how well you connect. I've never met this person in my life. They know me better than, you know, most all the people in my life do. You know, they understand things about you, and they see things that no one else can, you know. And they just get you. And that's part of the reason why I'm such a big nature person, you know. I believe a lot in the importance of nature and a person's personality and stuff, is because seeing all these overlaps of, you know, we tend to love quantum physics, you know, that's kind of an autistic thing, or just stuff like walking, you know, we love just walking, or, you know, all our social problems, and it's like you just have so much in common, you know, and that's just because of the way our brain works, and that makes such a huge difference, you know. And, well, yeah.
All right. Jacob, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
You're fascinating.
Yeah, this is it's a dream come true for me. I've dreamt about this, and if you're watching this and I resonate with you, well, that's something I've dreamt about, and just thank you for listening to me.
Great. Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah.
When I was designing the first Soft White Underbelly book, I realized that there were so many great portraits that weren't going to make it into that book. They just wouldn't fit. And once I saw how well that first book sold, I knew I'd have to design a second book. This second book is finally ready to ship. Like the first one, this book has a collection of some of the best portraits from Soft White Underbelly, accompanied by a quote from that person's interview. This book features another group of Rebecca portraits, as well as a collection of color images of the Whitaker family, and plenty of others. You can order yours for $125 or $150 for a signed copy at softwhiteunderbelly.org. Again, like the first book, once this book is sold out, I will not be printing more of them. The portraits are what Soft White Underbelly is all about, and these two books contain the best of all that work. Thank you for watching.